Okay, there we go. Thanks, Jenny. Now there should be sound. Monique's looking for her glasses. Let us know that you're watching. Welcome to the family meeting, and we are in town. You should be able to hear us now. Hey, Brandon, Kelly, Jenny, Jonathan, and family. Welcome.
I literally lost them.
Monique's looking for her glasses.
I had them earlier today.
We thought we were ready, so I turned on the camera.
Don't start with me. I don't know where my glasses are. I can't find them. Hopefully I can see. Hey, Brandon, I saw
They're right there on the chair.
Oh, thank you. I'll be back. Brandon, I saw your message. I am going to respond.
Okay.
Oh, I took them off so I could put my makeup on.
Whatever. All right. Hey, Damaris. All right. Are you ready to start now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Everybody's here, so let's start doing something productive.
Ew.
It's 4 after.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry for being
got
tardy.
a lot of topics today.
We do. What's up, Kevin? Oh, Kevin, we got some things to talk about.
We might have to call Kevin on the phone.
Oh, yes. We need Kevin in this one. You know, I was just talking to Kevin maybe yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And how so much of what is missing in our culture is a strong male voice. Like I'm just like, man, so many, like the fatherhood absence, in education, in family. A lot of in family, like in a lot of these conversations, I'm just like, man, we just need we need that bass, that voice, that no, we're not doing that. Like, yeah, there's just something about it.
We're gonna need that in a little while here.
We really are.
We are running off the rails. Okay, people, we tried to warn you.
Yes. So
we tried to warn you. We've been trying to warn you for 3 years now.
Yes,
and here we are.
Now, what have we been trying to warn them about, though?
We've been trying to warn you that critical race theory isn't actually about race.
It isn't. Now, here is what we have said, and I think Neil Shinvey has said it too, that critical race theory, when you think of critical race theory, you need to think of it as a train. So, or as being part of a train. So in the engine of the train is critical theory. Okay, critical theory is the driving engine.
Should I show them the chart
of the train? I don't have the chart. It's
okay. I do. I got it right here.
The train? That's not the train.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you think of critical theory as having cars on the train. What is one of the first cars that we see? I think some people will argue and say that it is disability studies, because that came probably around the same time or just a couple years before critical legal studies. But you definitely have critical legal studies. You have critical race theory right behind that.
Feminist
theory, LGBTQ plus,
queer theory.
Yes, or queer theory. So you have all of these cars, but they are critical blank theory. They're all critical theories applied to a certain social framework. So in looking at critical race theory is critical theory applied to race. Critical queer theory would be critical theory applied to the issues of LGBTQ plus or queer ideology. Critical child theory. Now, Krista and I were on an interview earlier today, and she mentioned critical child studies or childhood studies, and the guy was like, "What?" Now, we have used this term a couple of times on our show, but not a lot. We usually use it more when we're doing trainings, when we're talking with teachers, doing DEI, doing when Krista's talked about social emotional learning and all of this.
Jonathan says he's running for school board in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Come on, because Fairfax County just passed this whole whole policy on pronouns and how a child can get in trouble and face consequences if they misgender another student.
So Jonathan, you're going to want to know what we're talking about today. For sure.
So she used the term critical child studies, and the guy was like, what is critical child studies? And we were like, it's part of the train, it's what's coming, it is. And to a degree, I would say that we're seeing the forefront of this car now. I'm gonna read from a book that was in its 4th edition. I believe I believe this edition came out in 2018, but it talks about child.
Show them the book.
Oh, this is one of my favorite books, Reading for Diversity and Social Justice. Okay, y'all got to know. Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs to go out and run and buy this book. It's dense. It's a lot of stuff in here. But for me, it's helpful. So childhood theory, critical childhood theory, just like critical race theory, has an oppressed and an oppressor component to it. Who do you think would be the oppressed people? Yes, you can.
All right. I'm going to show the chart. She's giving me permission.
Y'all,
here we go.
So this chart was created, I want to say in the early 2000s, this matrix of oppression.
I think it's from this book. No, it's a different book.
It's different
Teachings for Diversity and Social Justice, 2nd edition, published by Routledge in 2007 for the podcast. Yeah.
So this chart, this matrix of oppression, shows, for the purposes of the podcast, people who are not going to see this physically, different pillars or different columns. The columns would be social identity categories, privileged social groups, border social groups, targeted social groups, and then the ism. And then under or crossing each pillar would be the social identity category of like race, sex, gender, sexual orientation, class, ability or disability, region, and age. And then religion and age. Who are the privileged group and who are the targeted group, or who kind of lie in the middle. So basically, another way to say this is who are the oppressors within a category and who are the oppressed. So when we look at the first category, we look at the social identity category of race. Who are the oppressors when it comes to race? White people. Who are the targeted or the oppressed? It would be Black, Asian, Latino, Native peoples, things like that. So basically, you can think of like your BIPOC communities. What is the ism that is created through their oppression? Racism. Okay, so this is what this chart identifies. Now, I'm showing this chart because it was created in 2007. Since then, we have added way more categories to this chart. One of those categories would be like fat studies. So
that's not on here. It's fat studies.
Fat studies is not on there. Who would be the privileged social group within fat studies? It would be skinny people. Who would be the targeted social group within a fat studies research or critical fat studies? Well, it would be obese people. I'm not.
Brandon's asking if we can post the chart. All you have to do is just Google it. Neil Shenvi has it posted, and it's on Google. Just search for Matrix of Oppression. You'll be able to find it.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm highlighting this to show you that there are groups. If this chart was created probably prior to 2007, because this is the 2nd edition of this book, there are 15 years later other categories that we are not seeing on this chart. One of those categories would be fat studies or obese people. Another category would be children or like critical child studies. Another category would be felons. Felons are considered a marginalized or oppressed people.
Okay, so let's show that.
I want to read first about the child studies. I want to finish my thought on child studies. Child studies is important. We have to understand, along with
so who would be the oppressor in the child studies
scenario? Adults,
parents specifically,
but any adult that is not an ally to the child can participate in what is considered adultism.
Okay. Adultism.
I'm highlighting this because we are going to start to hear more conversations. I believe, I don't have a word from the Lord and nothing like that. I believe we're going to start to hear more conversations on protecting the rights of a child based on allyship.
Okay, so in this scenario, then, on the matrix of oppression here, kind of, if I were to think about a lot of people in our audience, white, middle class, homeschoolers, Christian,
Adult. If you're an adult, you
heterosexual, yes, traditional marriage, that's like almost right down the line of that column, everything that that many people in our audience would be looking at as being like the most oppressive.
Yes, group. They are the most oppressive group.
And so then a child who's homeschooled in a Christian house would be potentially seen by the culture as being an oppressed.
The most oppressed group.
Okay, all right.
Darren says, funny you say that about male voices. I have had discussions like, where are the dudes? Yes.
Where are the dudes?
Yes, please stand up. Yes. And I'm that's not to make a blanket statement and say that there are no men out there speaking. That is not true. But we definitely need more. We need y'all base. Like, we need that voice, that rumble to be like a roar. We need that.
Alicia O'Connell says there's an actual attack on childhood innocence. Innocence perpetuates the hegemony.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to go right into that, Alicia. You're absolutely right.
So, in looking, and I'm breaking this down for a reason, because we're right after this, I'm going to start, and Chris is going to start to talk about felons and why the conversation about felons, defunding the police, all of this is important. Remember, think about this as a train. Okay, these aren't separate things. BLM is not just a separate thing. Defunding the police is not just living on its own. Okay, BLM's website and their flag is directly tied into critical race theory. BLM stands for the Black trans. Okay, so we have to remember this is all tied together.
Okay.
So
you're reading from an article from the book, and the article is called Understanding Adultism, a Key to Developing Positive Youth-Adult Relationships by John Bell.
And I'm also going to read what it means to be a child ally. Y'all, when y'all get to the child ally section, just pray I don't cuss. Okay? Because he ain't through with me yet. I'm still a work in progress. Okay, so the word adultism refers to behaviors and attitudes based on the assumption that adults are better than young people and entitled to act upon young people without their agreement, except for prisoners. Remember, we're going to talk about felons. Except for prisoners and few other institutionalized groups, young people are more controlled than any other group in society. Most young people are told what to eat, what to wear, when to go to bed, when to talk, that they will go to school. So you should have the option to go to school. Which friends are okay, and when they are to be in the house. If you don't pay a dag bill, then yes, these things are on the table, but that just might have been my house.
Pauline wasn't going to let you just run amok and have her custom make meals for you, and you might.
Pauline had fruit.
You might go here. You might go there. Just, it was all up to you, right?
No, Pauline had full authority. Pauline would go through if she wanted to go through my bag, that bag is in her house. I don't pay no bills. I don't contribute to rent. We are not friends. My mother had no goal in her life at all, ever, to be my friend.
Pauline might be an adultist.
She probably would be.
Okay.
And she wouldn't give a care. These opinions of most young people are not valued. The opinions of most young people are not valued. They are punished at will or whim at the will or whim of adults. Okay, they are punished at the will or whim of adults. Punishment is a word that is subjective here. It's not that they're saying we just beat every child, just will or whim. Could that be the case? Sure. Do some children live in abusive situations? Yes. But what they're building is a case that says that whatever they define as punishment is what is happening to the child at will or whim. In addition, adults reserve the right to punish, threaten, hit, take away privileges, and ostracize young people when such actions are deemed to be instrumental in controlling or disciplining them. Adults have enormous importance in the lives of almost every young person. This fact may make it difficult to understand what I am calling adultism. Not everything the adult world does in relation to young people is adultist.
I think I might be an adultist, though. I've taken privileges away from my children.
That's true. But listen to this. Childhood and adolescence are a steady series of developmental stages, each of which has a different set of needs, issues, and difficulties. For example, a 3-year-old needs a different amount of sleep than a 15-year-old, or what works to physically restrain a 7-year-old will not work with an 18-year-old. How you explain conception and birth to an inquisitive toddler will be quite different from how you explain these to a sexually active teenager. Okay, so there are some inbred assumptions here. And it just goes on to explain what adultism is and how we participate as adults with children. But I do think it's interesting that it's not if you explain sexual relations to your teenager, or how do you appropriately explain sex to a teenager. It's the fact that you are explaining sex to a teenager who is actively engaging in sex. So this is a setup, y'all. Y'all need to see the setup.
Kat Elias is wondering, she's wondering if this will all lead to protecting childhood sexual rights in the name of keeping away from the isms, but in reality pushing them into unfriendly child sexualization agenda. Yeah, I'm already seeing that on Twitter, that all this drag queen pushing issue is about to desensitize the child, because childhood innocence is a myth. And so we're desensitizing the child to sexuality so that they can choose their partner. And allies, child allies, will support them in their partner choices.
Yes. Now, how are you an ally for a child? Jenny says, this is why teachers say they are learning with the student. Yes, because they have to be allies to the student.
This is the track to Neverland.
Here it is. Listen to this. First of all, hold on.
What do I do with all those Bible passages that says like foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child? And
throw it out. Girl, that's right. That's adultist. You got to let that go. Honey, I'll work with you. Okay. Ally. Be an ally to a kid. Y'all almost fell over. I don't even have no kids. But if someone, I wish an adult would with one of my nephews. Okay. I wish an adult would. Yes, groomers, Kimba. Groomers is a term that was actually brought about by a philosopher, and I cannot think of his name.
People don't like that term though. They say it's a slur.
I give a
this is the no cussing show.
I know. But like it makes you like enraged to think like how they are setting up the stage to be able to get to your kid.
Yeah.
But groomers is exactly what it is. Taking educators from the space of educating to grooming is exactly what's happening. Okay, so being an ally, go to their space and their turf. Yeah, nah, bro, that's a nah for me. What I look like as an adult going to hang out with all the kids. Like, I mean,
we used to call that like pedophiles.
Strange. I mean,
strange.
We're not talking about like youth group. We're not talking about like the baseball team where you actually have a place to be there. Like you're the coach. You the driving mom. We're not talking about that. Like there is an intentional nefarious intent. And we need to understand that. Like they are saying if you want to help groom or build a child in the way that culture's going, these are the things that you need to do. Second, build one-on-one relationships with my child. When you want to build a one-on-one relationship with my child, the devil is a lie.
That's probably not happening.
Form an informal young people's advisory board for yourself. This goes back to foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. Are there things that I think young people can let us, advise us on? Yeah, I get wisdom from Abby all the time. Like there are things that and Abby's not a child, she's 19. She's not like, 10. But there are ways and appropriate conversations we can have. I'm not going to have her advise me on my financial status. You know what I mean? Like, she's not going to advise me on like dating relations. Like,
I think getting an
no
opinion. Like I used to ask my kids, like, "Well, what's your opinion about this?" But that didn't. We weren't equals.
No, and see, that's
it was
the
just
thing.
An opinion.
That's the thing. We are not equals, honey. No. Okay, the next one. Assist young people to rely on each other and to take themselves and each other seriously. I couldn't rely on my friends. I mean, my friends were great as a teenager, like, but we were all screwed up. Like, we all had family issues. We, you know, I don't know. Here's my favorite one. Expect and make lots of phone calls and personal contact with my child.
Well, how would you think? What would you think if an adult was calling your child all the time?
They wouldn't. That there is no world in which that would work. Because see, if you have a cell phone, I'm gonna go through it. Like my nephew, my older nephew has a cell phone. My brother and his wife beat. Who this? What's this mean? Like, no, it's not that. And the personal contact, I wish somebody would. If I had a kid, call my, if your voice is deeper than mine, if you, men, if you got a man calling your daughter or your son, like you need to, and it's not an aunt, an uncle, like y'all need to have some conversations and not with your child. Cause I will run up. Why do you think you need to call my kids so much? But right now, this is what college students in master's degrees programs and PhD programs, this is what they're being groomed to think is normal. You need to go out and have a lot of physical contact, personal contact. I wish you would. Don't cancel meetings or events. Young people should be a central part of any organization, movement, church group, etc. The problem with this is that it doesn't allow children to sit and learn. It doesn't give kids or young people the opportunity to understand, like, honey, there's a process to being in leadership. There's a weight and a cost to being in leadership. Now you're the central person of this organization. What am I gonna make you, the CFO?
Oh, this is creepy. Jenny says adults running after school activities are giving personal phone numbers to kids in their program.
See, and my mama would have come up there and literally fought somebody. I remember being in 6th grade and somebody hit me and I beat them up. This should not shock you. And Miss Timberlake, my 6th grade after school teacher, told me, you should never hit anybody. I don't care if they hit you, you are wrong. I went home and I told my mother that Miss Timberlake told me that I should never hit anybody back. That goes directly against my mom's instructions. If somebody hits you, you are to lay their blank out. Those were her verbatim words. I am 44 and I still remember this. Pauline, the next day, I was suspended. Pauline showed up on my suspension day with me and said, this is my child, and you do not tell her that my instructions are wrong. If you have a problem with my instructions, you come to me as the adult. I thought Pauline was going to cut that woman all the way down. But now, whether Pauline's motives in her instruction to me, whether her instruction to me was right or wrong, the principle is you have a problem with the adult, you go to the adult. You don't now have these deep conversations, philosophical conversations, and trying to rework some parents' like work. I don't even know the words for it. It's like, you're the adult, go to the adult. I was 11. You need to go to the adult and have adult conversations if you are the adult. Yeah, I thought Pauline was going to whoop her. That was deep. Yeah, for real. Pauline was not playing. So, insist that young people are represented at every meeting, especially where young people are being discussed. So, those are some of the ways. It would be interesting to see a reprint of this book today, because this is 4 years old. It would be interesting to see what the ally statement would be today, because in 4 years, a lot of things have changed. So
Trimaris wants you to get Pauline on the show.
we do. We need to. We need to get Pauline. We need to, because
Pauline's.
Yeah,
I call him Pauline's wisdoms, the pearls of Pauline.
yeah, Pauline got some pearls. Pauline didn't play. She was not the one to play.
But I think that here's the thing is that we get so many letters from parents who are like, well, should I talk to the school? I'm not really sure. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to make waves. I want to be nice. Maybe I'll write a letter. What do you think Pauline would say about that? Pauline
didn't write letters. Pauline did not write letters. Pauline didn't even write my excused absence letters. I wrote my own. Like Pauline, she not a letter writer. Like that wasn't Pauline. Pauline give you a call on the phone. But when it came to my brother, my two sisters, and me, oh no, Pauline didn't matter if we had a car or not. Pauline would walk. Pauline take the bus. Pauline get a ride.
But she will let you know this is my child.
Yes. And she don't care what in the HE double hockey sticks your prerogative is or your plan, you do not mess with her child. That is the kind of I feel like gumption I need parents to get to.
Because that's really what I if I could sit down with parents and tell them one thing, it would be stop being so afraid. Stop being afraid of your kid. Stop being afraid of the school. Stop being afraid of offending people. Stand up today.
Mm-hmm.
Do what's right for your kid today. This is your kid. Stop writing letters. I really want to tell parents to stop writing letters. Go have the conversation.
Yeah, because your letter ain't making it nowhere.
Yeah.
Especially not if you trust in your child to send it.
Pin it to their shirt.
You know. No.
Is that a white thing? Pinning it to their shirt.
We used to pin our lunch tickets like when I was in first grade.
Oh.
You don't even know nothing about lunch tickets. You don't know nothing about that life. But yeah, like, oh my gosh. Trimaris said, what did she say? Where'd it go? Where did she say? Pauline should have no, that's not it.
Oh,
wait, no, maybe it's
Pauline
was it Michelle? Scroll up no, scroll down. I missed it. There was a comment and I wanted to read it. No, it's fine. It's okay.
I didn't get it.
No, it's fine. What Kevin say?
I don't know. He said something.
Right there.
It was too long. I can't put that on the screen.
It's okay.
It doesn't take letters.
We know it's really our kids they're after, but I also think they may be hesitant to go this far at this time. I believe they learned our society has limits, and that limit is messing with our kids. They lost the Virginia election because of CRT in schools. They lost the Virginia election, but I think the individual counties are starting to implement things. Like I just saw something implemented in Fairfax County earlier this week, maybe the end of last week. I think the individual school districts are pushing things. I think that the upwards of 5,000 new Black homeschool families in Texas is sending a strong,
that's the biggest demographic that's growing right now.
Yeah,
Black homeschooling families.
Somebody said, gosh, something about like we need to stop being our kids' friends. Or no, Pauline needs to speak into the lives of like the young parents. And I completely agree. That's the comment that I can't find, but
it's right here.
Yeah, Pauline should have her program to educate these younger parents. Yes. Here's the problem. Many of the parents who are my age or a little bit younger, because I remember like my friends having kids as teenagers and even as young parents, they really like, oh, my daughter's my BFF. Do she pay a bill? Like, we need to be real. Like, we can't treat our kids like they are our BFFs and we're just gonna grow up together.
Alicia's mom said, my mom always told me that if we were meant to be friends, we would have been born in the same year.
Exactly.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay. So anyway, from there, I did all that because I talked about all this because I want you to see the critical social theories as being a train. You cannot accept critical race theory and then say, but I'm going to refuse and reject all of the other social theories. They're interconnected.
Yeah.
So then you brought up something you saw on Twitter regarding policing.
Yeah, there was a let me make sure I put up it's this one right here. I'm gonna put this up.
I'll keep the comments shorter next time. You don't have to keep it shorter, Kevin. You can just keep bugging her. It's okay.
Don't bug me. Where is it?
Hey, Kenzie.
Here it is. Okay, so this is an older tweet. It's from I want to just in all clarity, it's from 2020. But I don't know who this person is. I just thought it was interesting because it was related to defunding the police. And this tweet happened, during all the social unrest. We started hearing about defund the police. Many people have been wondering what a society without police should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to come up with an easily digestible graphic for y'all. Here's the summary. Basically, community-focused and led conversations. Solutions based on de-escalation. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag defund the police. So we're going to look at this little graphic. So here's one idea. You don't realize it, but your brake lights are broken. Instead of a police car pulling you over, a city employee signals you to pull over, mentions that you should replace them, and points you to the nearest places to have them fixed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could think of 100 things that could go wrong with that.
I could think of that too.
Number 2, you encounter someone in the streets behaving erratically and is in harm's way. Instead of calling armed officers, call a trained, unarmed, urgent mental health responder and be called and arrive within 5 minutes to de-escalate the situation and keep the person safe. This has so many assumptions.
It does. It has a lot of assumptions. And she doesn't know much about mental health, I'd say that.
Your community experiences gun violence. You involve a trauma-informed crisis team that works with your local activists to develop strategies to de-escalate conflicts that are connected to systems that perpetuate underlying violence problems.
I wish somebody would go to South Central right now and be like, all right, Crips, all right, Bloods, all right, Grape Street, like, come here. Let's have this trauma-informed conversation.
You experience intimate partner violence. You can text an emergency number that involves trauma-informed crisis intervention specialist to meet you in a safe place. An hour later, you are making plans to stay safe.
But
you've worked with,
what? No. I almost said something I shouldn't have said.
This is the no cussing show.
I know, but it's like if you getting your tail whooped right now, like if you getting actively, if you are in an active abuse situation, you want me to wait an hour?
Well, it is so hard.
Like there's an assumption that I'm gonna make it an hour. Like,
yeah, and
you don't.
But there's an assumption that people just leave right when there's an opportunity. That the reason they don't leave a DV situation is there's no opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just not how that works. You see some folks sleeping on benches in a park. So you call a city employee. They come by to check on them after you called, and they make sure that they have access to shelter, food, and healthcare. Later, those who want it could be offered a different place to sleep. This assumes that homeless people are sleeping in tents simply because they don't have a home, which you and I did a whole show with Brian Crane about how homelessness is way downstream of other problems.
In LA, homelessness, the homes aren't the problem. Because you can go down to Skid Row and there are tons of places.
There's tons of vouchers people can get.
Yes, you can get all kind of stuff.
You can get all kind of aid.
Yeah. And like, I haven't worked in homeless services in a couple years, but I'm telling you, there are a ton of resources. Being homeless is way downstream from the actual, like, now I sleep in a tent situation.
Yeah. Okay, just 2 more here. Someone is selling drugs to youth in your community. Boy.
You contact a professional substance abuse service that intervenes in harmful drug transactions, helps support local youth in healthy outcomes, and make sure sellers are held accountable. But what does held accountable mean? Because when we look at felons as being a marginalized people and defunding the police do not any longer, if they were to be defunded, they would not participate in things like drug interactions.
You want to be the social worker to go out on that call to intervene in a drug
No, because
sale?
the first thing I'm going to do is call the police.
All right. You see someone snooping in car windows in your neighborhood. So you contact your neighbors who are locally trained for free in self-defense and de-escalation tactics. And an hour later, the conflict is resolved. And all people involved are getting the support that they need in their neighborhood. So this is what defunding the police.
Maybe that's what like crime looks like in Beverly Hills, because on the streets of South Central, damn, if somebody's sneaking in my window, it's a whole different conversation. But anyway,
but that's the grand vision. Oh, so go back, look at our
Kevin, you know it's so real. Kevin said somebody who's white, who's never been to the hood, made that graphic. Yes, that's what it is. I'm sorry. I am sorry. These are, and this might sound a bit stereotypical or racist. I'm trying not to be racist, but stereotypical. I'll say that. But it's not every progressive white person, but it's a lot of progressive white people, white women. I'm like, this is what
it was a white woman.
We need the voice of men, because I'm like,
Troy Maris, whoever wrote that is living in La La Land.
Excuse me, Mr. Burglar. Can you please not break into my car? You can meet me outside if you want to. No, like y'all, this is not gonna work.
Defunding the police, it goes to this question of who are the oppressed and who are the oppressors, because what you have to understand is everything in that graphic is that the reason people do these things is because they're oppressed.
Yes.
And so the oppressor is the police. So we need to defund the police, and that's how we're going to get rid of the oppressor.
It's the police. It's the structures that the police upholds. It's a big government. It is, and not just big government, but the government structures that continue to oppress people. It's the jail systems. It is judges. It's the entire judicial system. All of these things kind of work together. So the police are just like a cog in a bigger structure that continue to oppress felons, continue to oppress people of color, continue to oppress the drug addicts. All of these people are considered marginalized. And so just to show you that this conversation of defunding the police and where I personally believe this is going, I think it started in 2020. It actually started way back with Angela Davis. But I think we saw a huge resurgence of it in 2020. I think it's kind of died down a little bit, but I don't think that we're at the end of this conversation with defunding the police. According to the Minnesota Psychological Association, so these are mental health professionals. I just pulled off of the web, but they are in line with many other psychological associations. What is the bottom group? Felons, and this is from a talk we did about the marginalized. So this list is, according to culture, who are the marginalized people within a society. LGBTQ+, the senior citizens. So along with adultism, there is also, and I don't know the name for it now, but an ism against the elderly. Military
ageism.
Yes. Military combat veterans,
persons of below average intelligence,
gamblers, gifted and talented persons. I was in the gifted and talented program in school. I didn't realize that I was being marginalized. Sex offenders are considered marginalized people.
The homeless,
felons. Okay, so felons are considered an oppressed category or a marginalized group. Now, this goes back, and I just read it a few minutes ago, where it said, except for prisoners and a few other institutionalized groups, young people are more controlled than any other group in society.
So they're comparing children to prisoners?
Because they're all oppressed.
Okay.
They're in an oppressed category. They are controlled. How do white people control people of color? Through power. So it would be the same thing with a felon. How is a felon controlled? Through the power of the judicial system.
So in that scenario, then defunding the police is really a way of getting rid of what's seen as that oppressor system. And
Yes.
and so when you buy into that, it can go to silly places like this infographic, but it is really part of the larger conversation of looking at felons as a marginalized people
Yes.
group. Okay.
So go to the next slide.
Okay. Is
I
it
think
this one?
yes.
Okay.
So in Time magazine a couple years ago, they came out with this article, and we just like pulled pieces of the article. The article is called 40 Ways to Build a More Equitable America.
And you can
And
Google it and
yeah.
find it. Yeah.
So it had a whole bunch of ways to do that, vote in homelessness, blah, blah, blah. Go to the next one.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. I have to do it this very circuitous way. So hold on a second. There we
Okay,
go.
one of the last ones was to keep police focused on crime. We would say yes and amen. Keep police focused on crime, petty theft, or if somebody's breaking in my car, if they're doing drugs and dealing drugs outside of my home. This does not mean what you think it means. Keeping police focused on crime, and if you look at little plus next to the K in keep, it was actually like a scroll down explaining what they meant. And keeping police focused on crime meant keeping police focused on violent crime and defunding them from anything that was not considered a violent crime. But who determines what a violent crime is? If we were to go off of the infographic that the Twitter lady done shown, well, that wouldn't necessarily, domestic violence wouldn't necessarily be a violent crime, because we're going to call in social workers. So keeping police focused on crime is another way to say, get them solely focused on violent crime as determined by whatever systems and structures are writing these policies, and move them away from the things that can impact our everyday neighborhoods, things like drugs, things like gun violence or gang violence, things like domestic abuse, things like drugs. Why are we doing this? Because of power dynamics. Police come in and they assert their power dynamics over felons. So this is why we would go to a cashless bail bond system, where you don't have to necessarily worry about bail. We don't need to put bail on you at all. Or why in California you can steal up to $1,000 without having to face any real crime or penalty. We are seeing our criminals as being marginalized people, and the power that police would wield over a felon, over a criminal, would be considered an injustice. We have to understand what's being said, and because this is like a train, and it's surely going to come. The train is going to move.
Yeah, Candy's asking the natural question that our friend Eric Muldrow has pointed out hundreds of times on his YouTube channel. Well, how do you know these nonviolent situations won't become violent? That's quite an assumption. And that's what Eric's always pointing out. He's like, when you pull someone over for a broken taillight, you don't know what's about to happen. You don't know what's going to go down. And you always have to be on your toes about that.
You always have to be on your toes. But then also, if violent crime is defined as someone having a weapon, what do you do when you getting tore up by somebody's hands? Your hands, if I'm in a fight with like Kevin Briggins, my podcast co-host, we host together on Off Code, I'm not gonna win that fight. I fight. I am not afraid of a fight. And yet I already know going into a fight with Kevin, I'm not going to win that, because we don't have to have any weapons. He got more muscle than me. His foot bigger than mine. His hands are much bigger than mine. But we're not going to look at that necessarily as being a violent crime. And we would defund the police from intervening in these types of situations. We had to be careful. and really look and consider what we are being invited into and how we as Christians are going to use our voice, our vote, and our dollar to be able to protect our families, our kids, and to a degree the neighborhoods that we live in. Krista said something earlier today about, many Christians are talking about big government, our national government, but we should be looking at the government right in our neighborhoods. How are we speaking into school boards? How are we voting for judges and things like that, things that impact us right here locally?
Darren says, before any defunding is done, the people who live there should be consulted of what they think about it. Usually the actual inhabitants of the area do not want defunding police.
They really don't. And statistical research has been done on this. People have gone to the neighborhoods of like Black and brown people, because that's what, many of these statistical like research studies will say, well, they don't want. No, that isn't actually true. The people who live in these neighborhoods say the police are important because when Pookie and them pop off, I got to call and get help. When we think about the drug reform bills and things like that have put so many Black people in jail behind like the crack epidemic and all of that, those policies were pushed by Black people, by Black lawmakers. We sit on the other side of it now, and it's racist. But can we have the conversation that many of these laws were established by Blacks?
Kevin asks, can we force the people writing these policies to live in the hood?
Please, because they won't survive. The first thing they're going to want to do is call the police.
Okay, so one more example here. Let's go back for a minute to just to remind people who are jumping on late to this graphic of what we're talking about, just really looking at this matrix of oppression. So we're going to talk now about this one of ability disability or ableist studies.
Ableist, yes.
Okay, we're going to tell you right now, we tried to warn you. This is not a conversation about race.
It's all tied together.
As critical race theory, I know many well-meaning white people wanted to bring critical race theory. It's just
and many angry Black people.
Yeah, like, it's just what is it? What do they call it? It's a tool. It's an analytical tool. Okay, so here we go with this next level. Here's where we're going with this. James Lindsay had on today on his Twitter feed a link to a paper.
Kevin says, Mo, I think you might get me. Pauline raised and trained you in hand combat. She did. Pauline was not playing. I was not allowed. Pauline, I'm sorry, but I was not allowed to come home having lost a fight. Like that just was, it was not going to work. If somebody hit me, I would be spanked if I did not hit back. I think that's a bit too far. Sorry, Mom, if but today, like, I can see all her little quirky ways that have made me who I am. There was some wisdom
behind some of that.
Yeah.
All right. So James Lindsay tweeted this out earlier, and James Lindsay he's an atheist, but he does a lot to highlight, I think, what's on the horizon in the critical social theories. So he tweets this out today. This paper, Academia Continues to Have a Normal One. So here's the article. Here's the title.
I thought they was talking about them people who live on like 82nd and Hoover in LA.
The Bloods and the Crips?
Yeah, I was like, the Hoover Crip, y'all, what y'all know about that? They got a Crip theory? Go ahead.
Cripping Incest Discourses by Ryan Thornycroft.
Which is unfortunate. It's just unfortunate.
But
cripping is
I'm going to show the real article here. This is just a screen cap, but I want people to know this is a real article. It's not photoshopped. James Lindsay didn't invent this. Go ahead.
I was just going to define or give information into cripping. Cripping is a like a short term or slang for crippled. So it would be like the disabled.
Yeah. So here is the paper. We did not pop the $40 to buy the paper.
The devil is a lie. I will go to the
But it is
library.
a real paper. We looked it up. It's a real paper. It was really published a little over a year ago in the Sexuality and Culture journal. So this is an academic journal. And we're just going to look at the abstract here. Oops. I accidentally stopped sharing. Let me go back. Got a little too quick with the button there. All right, so read through this abstract and kind of talk us through it.
See, you making me read through the abstract on purpose because you know I got a swear word. You trying to tempt me. Get thee behind me. In this article, I chart the ableist presuppositions associated with the incest taboo. Specifically, I interrogate two ways in which incest is deployed as a particular form of knowledge and consequently prohibited because of such knowledge. First, the knowledge that incest creates inbreeding and attendant abnormalities. And second, that incest is a threat to the sanctity of the family. I challenge both these assertions on the basis that they are grounded in ableist and heteronormative ways of thinking. While I dwell on the theoretical aspects of this analysis, in the second half of the article, I move to explore the ethico-political dimensions that arise from such theorizations, drawing on the intersections of queer theory.
So it's ableist studies, where ableist studies and queer theory meet.
Where they meet, yes. I wonder whether we should F the future.
Only he really wrote that out.
Yeah, he really wrote it out. Yes. You told me I couldn't. I know. See, I know that wouldn't be good.
We gotta be holy.
Yes. Or whether we should. Okay, I'm gonna start that sentence again. Drawing on the intersections of queer theory, I wonder whether we should F the future, quote unquote, or whether we should imagine a queer crip future that is not here yet. Such choices, I hope, will help us inform our understanding and approaches toward incestuous practices.
So, am I to understand here that what this is his hypothesis is that incest is just really a cultural heteronormative taboo that needs to be overcome?
Yes, Mel. Hold on one second. Wait, stop. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to go here. I want to send you our email address.
Hold on.
You got your thing. Got
all right.
issues.
You just talk.
Yes, this is the fact that we should begin the exploration of incest
as being
normative,
a sexual option.
Yeah, as being normative.
And his reasoning is that when James Lindsay included some screen caps of the article, and it basically a huge part of his idea is that one of the arguments against incest, here I'll share this. This is where it all went off the rails for me. I just couldn't. Let's see here. Where's James Lindsay?
This is I don't know if that is that one.
That one?
No.
It's this one. There it is. So one of the arguments against incest is the gene pool gets polluted, and sometimes there's physical biological abnormalities that happen.
Yes.
And so he says that's not a valid reason. To put it more succinctly, incest should be avoided because disabled babies will be born. This is the argument against his position. That society accepts this proposition because of such danger points is the ubiquity of ableism.
Yes.
So we should allow deformed babies to be born from incest. To not allow them to be born is ableism.
Yes, when you deny people their quote unquote right to incestuous relationships, you are participating in ableism.
Ableism can be understood as a form of normative violence, in that norms are violent to ways of being for particular people, disabled people, for instance. Given the ways in which society accepts and adheres to the incest taboo, I suggest that society is ableist, and that this is the case because of the prospect of producing disabledness blocks someone's quest or desire for incest.
How about we block your desire for incest because it's nasty? You nasty. You nasty. Like what? You just nasty. I wish somebody would walk up. Can you imagine walking up in your mama, grandmama house and being like, Pookie got good hair, and you starting to flirt with your cousin? That's nasty. That is nasty. I mean, yeah, it creates disabled babies. It has a ton of problems. You family, but it's nasty. You need to better start raising your kids. Don't look at your brother like that. Don't look at cousin Tony like that. That's nasty. You're nasty. You just nasty. Yeah, you just gonna write a nasty paper. You just nasty. Go ahead.
This was in an academic journal.
But abortion is okay for healthy babies. Come on. That's nasty. You nasty. I don't have any other words for it except for nasty. Like we can't be satisfied with.
But is this really starting to just break down? Like we're just going to break down every what they see as just a societal construct.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. Tramaris has it right. This is depravity, and it is an abomination to God. Yes.
Okay, we're at the hour. So just a couple quick things I want to tell you about, draw your attention to as we close out here. Hopefully you guys found this helpful.
It ruins a child's self-respect too. They have a hard time seeing themselves as more than a play toy. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole age thing. I mean, it's like, what kind of
that's going to
incest
be
are we
next.
talking about?
Yes.
Consent, age of consent. I mean, it's just it's wrong. But I do feel like there's a push into making pedophiles a marginalized
pedophiles
group.
Are like and on one of the lists that I just showed, it said didn't call them sexual predators. I don't remember the term, but yes, sex. It's not that one. It's the other one.
Oh, I don't know if I have
I think what do you call it? The sex offenders. Yes. Sex offenders are considered marginalized people. But it doesn't say, well, you're a marginalized sex offender because you participated in a sex crime with an adult. No. You guys.
Okay, a couple of things we're going to leave you with before we sign off here. One is that there's an op-ed out today about the title is, it's on the Christian Post. We want to commend you to this. The Biden administration has turned a blind eye to violent persecution of Nigerian Christians, written by the one and only Emily Bontrager. But it is a very good article where Emily is sharing her thoughts about what the Biden administration is not doing in light of the harsh persecution that's happening in Nigeria with our brothers and sisters there.
Yes. Also, please remember that throughout the month of June, we are doing a special mid-year fundraising campaign. Please prayerfully consider how you can stand with the Center for Biblical Unity. You can become a monthly partner, or you can make a one-time donation. This is in addition to like our normal Giving Tuesday ask, that like our bigger ask that we do. But throughout the month of June, we are asking, just as cost of everything is rising, if you would prayerfully consider how you can stand with us. We are looking to increase our monthly partnerships. And please don't think like, well, if I don't give $100 a month and no. We have people who give $2. We have people, I know actually someone who gives $1 a month. We have people who give $5. We are thankful for your contribution and support and standing with us as family. And then once a month, you can hop on a Zoom call with us and ask us questions and hear all about, our travels and what's happening inside the ministry that we don't always share or sometimes can't share publicly.
Yeah. So that is it for today. We hope you found this helpful. We look forward to your feedback. Please share this with a friend, and be sure to tune into our show on Saturday night. We're going to be having a very special show for all the things. It'll be live. What to do when your school is a woke mess.
Yes. Somebody accused me of writing that title. That was you, all you.
So we're going to be talking to our friend George Rosca Jr. from protectourkidsnow.org. He's a new friend. We met him at the Colson Center.
He's a new to you friend.
He's new to me.
Yeah. We've been talking for a while.
Yeah. At the Wilberforce weekend. But he helps equip parents to be able to push back in public schools. And he lives here locally. So he's doing it in a liberal state of California. And we're going to talk about options. So how to push back, strategies, and all of that sort of thing. So tune in for our show this Saturday with George Rosca Jr.
Yes, and then pray for us, but a new episode of Off Code should be dropping on Sunday.
Oh, we're still doing that?
Don't start with me. The Lord don't like ugly. Just stop it.
All right, friends. We hope you guys are doing well, and we love you, and have a good week. Make sure to share the show with a friend.
God bless.
All right. Bye-bye.